This is State of Kansas versus Jonathan Getz, case number 22 TR 422. Would counsel state their appearances, please?
The state appears by Jill Gillette, County Attorney.
Sir, are you Jonathan Getz?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Getz, we're scheduled here today for a bench trial. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
Ms. Gillette, ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
Very well. If the state would call our first witness, please.
Your Honor, the state calls Deputy Bliss.
If you raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're under oath. Counsel, you may proceed.
Could you please state your name for the record, Deputy?
Amy Bliss
And how are you employed?
at the El County Sheriff's Office as a deputy.
And did you come across the defendant on October 30th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Where did you come across the defendant at?
Approximately it was K99 and approximately mile marker 34.
And were you driving a marked patrol vehicle?
I was, ma'am.
What drew your attention to the defendant?
I recognized him to be going 73 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone from my radar.
Are you one of our newer deputies?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Which patrol vehicle were you operating?
I drive a 2016 Dodge Charger.
And did you check your radar that morning before you operated it?
Yes, ma'am, every day. I do it does a self-test, and I use the tuning forks before I start.
And when you had him on radar at 73 and a 55, did you initiate a traffic stop?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And upon initiating that traffic stop, what was the first thing you did?
I greeted, introduced myself, told him the reason for the stop. I asked him if he had any weapons or anything illegal in the vehicle, asked him for his driver's license, insurance, and registration for a vehicle.
And were there any other vehicles near or around him when you had him on the radar?
No, ma'am, I don't believe so.
Okay. Were you sitting stationary or running moving radar?
That I do not know, but at that mile marker, I believe I would have been driving, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay. And when you locked him in, you initiated the traffic stop. Did you run his tag at that time?
Yes, ma'am. When I pulled him over, I run his tag first before I apologize, and then got back to my vehicle, and they informed me that the tag was expired.
And do you recall when the tag was expired from?
If I can look at my notes, I don't know that in front of me. I don't have that it's not in my call log.
Okay. Was it a Kansas tag?
No, ma'am, it's California tag.
And do you recall what month and date you noted for the traffic citation that it was expired from?
I'm looking at my digit ticket. It was 3 of 22. It expired.
Okay. And do you recall the stop date?
The what, ma'am?
The day you made the stop was what date?
October 30th of 22.
Okay. And did the tag match the vehicle it was on?
Yes, ma'am. I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And I will pass this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Getz, do you have any questions of the deputy?
Yeah, what was the what was the errand that you called in for me to run that day? That I did not get mileage for or any reimbursement or have any idea who these people were? What was the stop that you called in for somebody to get their belongings? Do you remember that, Officer Devine?
All right, you're going to need to re-ask your question. I'm not sure what you're asking. What's your
Well,
question?
I would just like to know that I was running an errand that she had called in. Yet I received no mileage reimbursement for it. Apparently there was a prisoner who needed their belongings brought to them, who I was brought aware of it by a friend who had a friend at church who I guess was that prisoner who needed their belongings brought back to them. Do you recall calling that in, Officer Devine,
I don't,
earlier that day? I'm sorry?
I don't recall what you're talking about now.
You don't recall
Mr. Getz,
earlier that
you're
day?
charged with driving a vehicle with an expired tag
Okay.
and speeding 73 and a 55. Are you talking about a different incident?
I'm just pointing out for the record that I was doing something that she had called in. I was doing her a favor. And I just like that stated for the record.
Well, this is your opportunity to ask questions concerning this case with what you're charged with. Do you have any questions over these things?
I would just thank you, officer, for your time and your service.
You're welcome.
Ms. Gillette, any redirect?
Did you ever know Mr. Getz before this case, before you stopped him?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever communicated with him before?
No, ma'am.
Have you had any communication with him since?
No, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Very well. Officer, you are excused from the stand at this time. Any other witnesses, Ms. Gillette?
No, Your Honor. State would rest.
Mr. Getz, is there any witnesses you'd like to call or testify on your own behalf?
No, but I would.
If you wish
I
to testify,
would like to.
hold on. If you wish to testify, I'll put you under oath. You can make your statement, and then Ms. Gillette can ask you cross-examination questions, okay?
Okay, I would like to testify.
All right. If you'd raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You're under oath, and you may make your statement.
I was asked by a friend to run a belongings to somebody who is in the jail that this deputy actually had called in to have done, and I did not receive any mileage reimbursement. I feel like it's like a no good deed goes unpunished. I got the registration fixed. It cost over $500 in the state of California. I would move to dismiss the registration and ask if I could plead to a lesser speed over the speed limit, please.
Well, the time for negotiating a plea with the state is passed once we start the trial. Is there any other statements you want to make?
I would just ask you if you could treat the registration as a fix-it ticket. I did get it addressed. And
Right.
I want you to know, Your Honor, I don't typically speed. I'm very good at going within 5 miles of the speed limit, above or below. On my way into this place, I had somebody talking into my ear that if you don't get there by 3 p.m., this whole trip is in for naught. I forget their exact words, but if you don't get there by 3 p.m., this whole trip is either in vain or for naught, or, a whole waste of time. and we had driven about 50 minutes to bring this prisoner their belongings back. And I was doing a favor to someone else with somebody in my ear telling me to hurry up. And I don't usually speed. You can check my record.
All right,
And so
thank
I would
you.
ask for leniency.
Ms. Gillette, any cross-examination?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Mr. Getz, what jail are you talking about that you were going to?
There is a jail that's right next to where this stop happened. And there was a prisoner there from Montgomery County. And this deputy had called in and even told me the morning of the stop, oh yeah, I called that in. She was the one, I was doing her a favor essentially that I didn't get gas mileage reimbursement for. I felt like I was doing a favor on behalf of the state, and I had somebody telling me to speed up. Otherwise, if we don't get there by 3, it's all in vain. And as you can tell, the traffic stop was, I believe, at like 2:45 or 2:50 right outside the jail. We barely made it there on time to get this person who I don't know and have no interest in helping get them back their belongings, that this had been called in. I guess it's just a coincidence that it had been called in by this deputy, but it's frustrating because I always go the law. Almost always follow the speed limit. I almost always drive within 5 miles plus or minus of the speed limit. You can check my driving record. It's perfect.
Judge, I would just note that Montgomery County's jail is nowhere near Elk County. I mean, like, it's the neighboring county.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions of Mr. Getz?
No.
All right. Very well. Mr. Getz, do you have any other witnesses that you wish to call?
No.
All right. Mr. Getz, you're charged with speeding 73 and a 55. There's been testimony that you were doing that speed. It was clocked by radar. There was indications by the deputy that had been, checked for accuracy with the tuning ports, as well as the other procedures that they go through. The location where you're at, I'm generally familiar with, south of Howard. It's clearly posted going both directions that the speed limit's 55. I don't doubt what you're saying, that normally you drive the proper speed or close to it. But sometimes people, and I've done it myself, miss a sign or not paying attention because I'm doing something different, and not watching the signs as closely as I should have perhaps, and I got a ticket. So that happens. It's not a character flaw. It's just one of those things. So I do find you guilty of 73 and a 55. The unregistered vehicle tag, it appears that based upon testimony, it had been expired for several months. You say that you've got it fixed. I noticed from your ticket that you have a New York driver's license, a California tag on the vehicle, and yet on October 30th of 22, you were driving through Elk County, Kansas. That's just kind of a combination we don't see very frequently. What do you reside here? Why is it you've got a New York license, DL, and then a California tag on your car?
I bought a house in Kansas before I was basically run out of town by these same thugs that had me running an errand to the jail. And I went to the Kansas DMV, but they required a birth certificate, which I didn't have, but I do now have the birth certificate, and I can show it to you here, but I was unable to get my Kansas ID and my Kansas tags because I did not have a birth certificate, but I did make an appointment at the DMV. I went to the DMV. They were unable to help me. But I do now have, I did get back to California and renew the tags in California instead of getting Kansas tags like I had planned, but I got my birth certificate. So it's just a paperwork problem, but I've been keeping up insurance, which is my understanding was the law in Kansas is that you just had to keep up your insurance. I know now
That's a
that's not
different
the
law,
case.
and certainly you do. Ms. Gillette, is there any statement you'd like to make?
Judge, the defendant had a tag on his vehicle that was expired for several months from March until October of 2022. So there's a time period of 7 months in there that he was driving with an unregistered vehicle. He was stopped for speeding, which is a legal stop, and the tag issue was there upon stop. So we would say that the defendant should be found guilty of having an unregistered vehicle.
Well, I do find the defendant guilty on both counts. Is there, Mr. Getz, is there any statement you'd like to make in regards to, or any additional statements in regards to your fine? The statutory fines, what I'm imposing for 73 and a 55. There's a chart that the state of Kansas has that sets that. I'm assessing the court costs. Again, those are set by Topeka, the state. That's $108. In regards to the unregistered vehicle expired tag, is there any statement you'd like, additional statement you want to make on that charge there?
I got it fixed. I would urge you to treat it as a fix-it ticket that I got fixed.
When did you get it fixed?
Was finally able to come up with a $553 to take care of it when I was in California on March 3rd, 2023.
Okay. Well, today's March 20th of 2023. I'm going to fine you $100 for that tag. Sir, if you're residing in Kansas, you shouldn't have your vehicle tagged in California unless you've got your primary residence there and various other conditions. But are you living here most of the time, most of the year?
I got run out of my house by a tweaker who basically took over my house, and I'm homeless in California.
Okay, so you're living in California.
Yeah.
Okay, well
With
that's
my home that I own in Kansas,
okay. Well,
but don't have access to.
If you're residing in California, then you got California plates, then that's fine. But those plates had expired some 7 months in advance, so that's why I say so it's $100 fine on that. Judy, what's the statutory fine on the 73 and the 55?
$93.
Your Honor, I had a
Okay, so I'm fining you $93, which is the statutory amount. That's $193, then plus $108 for court costs. So that appears to be $201 fines and court costs. When can you get that taken care of?
Judge, that would be $301.
Oh, excuse me. You're right. I was at, okay. Sorry, $301.
Why is it 301 when the whatchamacallit would have only been for something? When the
fine
diversion would have only been 400.
We're not talking diversion. I don't do the diversions. You asked for a trial and you received a trial. I imposed $93 fine for count one, $100 fine for count two. Court costs are $108. Those are set by law. Or by Topeka. So it's a total of $308. The diversion is an agreement between the parties entered into before a trial happens. And the conditions vary. I'm not a part of that other than staying the case if there's a diversion filed. So I'll ask again, how long is it going to take you to take care of this $308?
Within a month.
Okay, I'm going to give you 30 days. So that today is March the 20th. So by the end of business on I'll give you April 21st, that needs to be paid in full. Now, if it's not paid in full by that time, then we send what they call a suspension letter, goes to Topeka, and saying somebody hasn't paid their court costs and fine. I'm not imposing a jail sentence, so there's nothing, there won't be a bench warrant or anything like that. So what would happen is then Kansas should be in contact with wherever you've got your driver's license from, and they will probably suspend you. So you want to make sure it gets taken care of. But
No good deed goes unpunished. I was doing a favor for this officer.
Well, sir, I don't know why you were driving somewhere. Where you're going and your purpose isn't really the issue in regards to speeding. So, the Elk County Clerk's Office is 620-374-2370.
Judge, I just want to confirm it's $301 he owes.
Well, if I added it up right, that's correct.
Okay.
$93, $100 fine for count 2.
And now I have a misdemeanor and a huge speeding ticket on my record. Okay, thank you.
We're adjourned. Thank you.